take 4. Sorry, I've had to record this a few times. This is a really hard topic for me, but for some reason my silly little brain says it's time. So I feel like I need to get this out there for my own health, for my own mental health, just to know that I'm seen, you know. And I don't. It may have some backlash from it, but I think it'll be worth it just to not have that be a part of myself anymore. But all right, so this is about relationships and our very, very, very odd relationship to each other. Okay, so I'm gonna have to bring you all back to first grade, which is odd because most of the time, you know, it's just a little kitty crush when you're that young. But for some reason, my mind decided that it wanted to mature quickly in that aspect and actually understood relationships and wanted one. And I wrote an adult book when I was 6. So I mean, my mind was already pretty mature in that aspect. But so let's go back to first grade, or actually kindergarten. In kindergarten, I met someone that I just completely fell head over heels for. Then come along to first grade, there was a girl who I was friends with who decided that she wanted a boyfriend just to have a boyfriend. And that alone was enough to not want to go out with her. But I was so head over heels for that other girl that I just did not, even though we weren't actually dating at the time, that I didn't want to take a chance, start dating someone else and miss out on dating her. So I started to come up with a plan to tell her kindly why I didn't want to date her. But the thing is, when I was younger especially, I didn't really know what was considered socially acceptable and what was, you know, mean. So I wasn't trying to be mean. I've always kind of struggled with that social aspect, but I was trying to think of a nice way to say that I didn't like her personality and I didn't want to be with someone like that. And that the fact that she just wanted to date me wasn't good enough reason to date me, because that's what the other girls were doing and that's what the other boys were doing my age. So I didn't know how to explain that. So my mind, my brilliant little mind, is like, well, you're super short and she's super tall, so that would be awkward in public to see, you know, that much of a height difference. So that would be my excuse. But the problem was, I didn't know that she was extremely sensitive when it came to that. And that, how you doing? Okay, sorry about that. I had to go into the woods. There's a lot of people at the park today. But anyway, so I went up to her and I said, well, you know, you're really tall. I'm really short. So people will probably look at us funny in public and make fun of us. So I want to protect you. I don't want you to have to go through that. So we shouldn't date. And she took that to heart. So she freaks out and runs to the teacher. Well, the problem is in first grade, I had an extremely abusive teacher who hated me specifically because I reminded her of her ex-husband. So she took out all that frustration from her ex-husband on me. She would have me redo my papers, even if they were near perfect, until they were absolutely 100% perfect. The rest of the class would finish. She would have me redo it 3 or 4 or 5 times, all the way into the end of school. And that's what gave me my OCD problem. But she wanted to make an example of me, and she would take me out in front of the class, in front of everyone, sit me down, and talk about the things that were wrong with me, and have all the other kids poke fun at me. So I already felt like I was completely different in this loser, and I was a different place emotionally when it came to relationships. So that already was enough to just completely destroy me right there. So she runs up to that teacher and tells her what I said. Well, that teacher, of course, brings me out in front of everybody, puts a chair out in front of the rest of the seats, and has everyone poke fun at me and tell me how I'll never be good enough for love. I'll never be able to get love. I'm a horrible person. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve to be cared for. And just I'm a piece of crap. And just, you know, every insult that she and the kids could think of, they just threw it at me. And then she called her mom. And apparently her mom was the same way, or just, I don't know what story they told the mom. But her mom came in and came straight up to me and started telling me, one day I'm going to regret this. One day when I'm alone and I'm suffering, I'm going to regret this. I'm going to regret this moment when I don't have anybody. And I couldn't see her. I was crying so hard at that time, I couldn't see anything. But I knew her voice because, like I said, we were friends. Which is why she wanted to go out with me in the first place. She was comfortable with me. And I didn't want to lose that friendship, which is why I was trying to think of a nice way to say it. I didn't think of the right thing. I was a kid. I was 6. But anyway, so she tells me that, and that what they all said to me stuck with me forever, and it's still stuck with me today. I fight it all the time. I'm able to fight past it sometimes, but it's always there, lingering in the back of my mind, that I'm different and I'll never be good enough, and that mistake was enough to curse me for life. And because that mindset was in my head growing up and going through school, middle school and high school, I was extremely reclusive. I was very, very shy, reclusive, and I would shy away as soon as I started feeling attraction for someone, because I knew that the inevitable rejection would be coming. And it wasn't just because of this curse I thought I had in my mind. Because I was so upset about all that and so depressed about that, started eating. I mean, eating a lot. That was my comfort. And I got up to almost 300 pounds, and I was a very short kid, so I was very, very heavy, and I started having health problems and everything. But so I retreated into food. So then the rejections were not only because of what the people that I grew up with remembered and the rumors they spread about that, but also because I heard this so many times. How could you take care of me if you can't even take care of your own body? Look how fat you are. And I heard that on repeat. I mean, it was complete rejection until the end of middle school, every time. And not just, no, I'm not interested in you. It was like a beat down every time. And then at the end of middle school, I actually found someone who was willing to date me, but it was a different form of unhealthy relationship, a different form of unhealthy attraction. This person was obsessed with me because I was top student. I mean, the reason I was top student is because I didn't have any. I had my main 3 friends that like drug me into things, but for the most part, I didn't go out and do things. I was focused on my studies, so I had like 99.8% average, like 4.0. I mean, I was killing it. But because of that, she became obsessed with me. She thought I was like the nicest. I mean, once she found out how it actually was, past all of the reasons people hated me, once she found out how it actually was, she became even more obsessed with me. Started calling me like holy and weird things like that. I mean, it got weird, obsessive. And then she started like trying to see if she could make me leave, because I promised I would never leave her. So she would like pinch me really hard until she left bruises, and she would just hit me and punch me, trying to make me leave, trying to prove that I wouldn't leave, and I never did. And then luckily she went. I ended up actually finally breaking it off after this really weird excuse that didn't make any sense. I'm not going to get into that, but it was like a couple months struggle. But I mean, that was the only relationship I had in school, period. Because in high school, I tried to date again. It was constant rejections again because I was fat. And that's always the excuse they gave, because I was fat. I was fat, and I didn't take good care of myself. And I had greasy hair, which is one of the reasons I shaved it off, and I always hide my hair. But I had greasy, nasty, curly hair, and I was fat. So anyway, after school, I became anorexic because I wasn't going to be fat anymore. I wasn't going to be greasy. I was going to start wearing hats to cover up the hair, and I was going to lose a bunch of weight. And I got down to 120 pounds, and it was not healthy. You could see every single one of my ribs, and my stomach was inward. It was an inward instead of outward. It completely reversed. And I was happy with that, but that wasn't good. But I still fight with that too. But anyway, this isn't a pity party. Please don't feel sorry for me because of this. I just want to explain myself a little bit. But anyway, so then I finally had another relationship. Someone finally gave me another chance. And that was my narcissistic ex that I don't really want to get into. I'm going to make that a second video because it's going to take a video in itself. This is background so you realize where she came from with the knives to stab me with when she did. But she was also obsessive. So I've only known rejection and unhealthy, obsessive, narcissistic relationships. That's all I've ever known. And for the longest time, I hated love so much. Hated relationships. It was the most evil thing I could think of. Like I'd rather like hang out, I don't know. I'd rather like jump onto a pile of spikes with the devil or something than to have been in a relationship. Like I feared it. I hated it. I loathed the fact. I hated the other people in relationships, because the more people I saw that actually got something positive out of the thing that only hurt me repeatedly, the more times I saw people cared for and loved, and the warmth and the happiness and the family, the more I saw of that, the more angry I became. And I wasn't an angry person. I hated that I had anger. It caused a lot of self-loathing because I really did not want to be an angry person. But just the more love I saw, the more it triggered me into all of these horrible emotions and thoughts. And growing up, I was always a melancholy kid. Like, honestly, from first grade up, all the way through adulthood, I've always been melancholy, and I didn't know why. And then once me and my ex started dating, it went away. It started slowly going away. I was healing for the first time. And then everything that she healed, everything she helped me past, she completely undid in the course of a year. We dated for almost 4 years, but at the end of that 4th year, that last maybe about 8 months, she tore down everything, put knives into every wound that had ever been inflicted on me, everything I've ever shared with her, every pain, brought that back to try to control me. And left me almost in as bad a shape as when she found me. I am stronger than I was. I am better than I was. I'm finally recovering from everything. And I guess I'm grateful that I was able to start recovering, even if that's what it took. But you can understand now why I choose creative things, why I choose books, why I choose writing, why I choose videos, why I choose music, whatever. The reason I choose art over people is because the only thing I've ever known from people is pain. And the only thing I've ever known from art is happiness and peace. And you know, if you have your hand in 2 jars, and one of the jars is rehydrating your body, and the other jar has hornets in it that are stinging you, which jar are you gonna keep, you know? But anyway, that's part 1.